Welcome back to the Winner's Circle, everybody. I'm here today with Sandeep from TCS. He is one of our all-star judges for 2025 and an expert in IT services and at the forefront of this massive AI innovation extravaganza that we're in. And he's helping all the enterprises become great at AI, but he's helping us judge all your nominations. So Sandeep, welcome to the Winner's Circle and congratulations on being an all-star last year.
Thank you, Russ, for having me. And it's always a pleasure to judge awards on big innovation. I always
For
get something
Yeah,
to
for
learn.
anybody that doesn't know, all stars are our top judges. These are the judges that are uh, basically scoring the most programs, giving us the most honest and good feedback, which is so helpful for all the nominees. These are not AI feedbacks. We check for that. Um, these are real judges, real people like Sandeep judging your nominations, and we're just thrilled to have you, you know, doing this and helping us and being part of this community. But before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit about you and what you do at TCS.
So you all know I'm Sandeep, and I have been working with IT for well over 2 decades. And in the IT services companies, I predominantly have worked on fintech-based projects, and where digital transformation was the thing. Cloud technologies and cloud migrations was something that was going a lot in the last couple of years, and now we have definitely shifted into AI and agentic. We was in generative AI, now we're in agentic AI, and yes, now we're implementing this AI-based solutions for all our clients. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and it's a super interesting time, I think, to be where you guys are sitting because of all the we were talking about a little bit earlier. I've worked with the hyperscalers and helping them launch networks, and you're helping these enterprises really kind of do the hard work of actually deploying AI. But before we get into that, take me back to the beginning. How did you first get involved as a big judge, and what was the kind of the theme of your thinking about kind of getting into the innovation realm?
right. So IT services, it's a very big domain and market, right? Like there are a lot of industry leading and in global giants in IT services companies. My own employer has over 500,000 employees spread across the globe. And then what we do, I mean, either with my current employer or my last employer for global giants in IT services, we always work towards our customers and then make sure that there is value and innovation in everything that is being delivered for them. But in this process, like in the last, say, 2 decades, I've probably, worked for at least more than 20 clients. That means I'm working on a new client every 6 months or every 1 year, and we constantly deliver in cycles. So the client would remember, the value that we have given to them, but it sometimes, gets difficult for the employees to, get themselves recognized. Yes, they definitely get recognized in their units within the org, but how do you get recognized even beyond the organization? Probably get recognized at an industry level. So that is where I was looking at, how to look for opportunities like these. I have even tried, in fact, got nominated and got selected to present my papers in some of the innovation based seminars, uh, and and I've been invited to as a speaker to innovation seminar here in there in Bangalore, India, but I'm already in US by the time I was deputed over here, which actually took away the opportunity of getting presenting my own paper and probably getting selected for the specific award. So that was pre-ultimate round, where my paper got selected. Only when I present, it'll actually be considered as a valid nomination. That actually felt hard because in service companies or even in IT, moving across locations is pretty common. Within US in the last decade, I moved across 4 locations. In India, I have moved across several locations. When there are these constraints about being having to present paper physically in a seminar, stuff like that, it might be good. It is good to have those kind of things, but it won't work in this dynamic world where people are always moving around. And that's fair where I was thinking, what actually happening in this world of getting recognized, being within the team, within the unit, within the industry, across the industry. How do people do this? There are various avenues, but not always as simple, straightforward, and transparent. And that is when I was going through as everybody does, go online, check how people publish their papers, and how do people become independent researchers. When they become researchers, what are the ways that they try to get them recognized? And that's how I ended up finding about big innovation awards, and I had
Yeah,
to.
well,
Yeah,
it was interesting. Sorry, it's interesting because recognition is all about trust signals, and kind of like what you're talking about is kind of layering on different trust signals, right? There's different types of awards. There's internal, your employee of the year type of awards or pat on the back. Hey, you did great this quarter type of stuff. Sales is always recognized for their great, sales every year usually. So there's different layers inside, and then companies I've seen that do it well do kind of bring in that external sources and that third party validation, like us and others, that really help you get that third party perspective. And then that's where you kind of have to look under the covers a little bit and kind of go, you know, who
Mm,
are these
mm.
guys and how are they judging things? We were talking
Right,
about
right.
that
Yeah.
earlier, right? There's lots of
Yeah.
different ways that these award programs are judged.
Yes, 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 yes. Many of our programs do, expect, to come to a specific location, like a beat, be it sometimes it's a hotel and sometimes it's a resort where they actually request us to come over there, present the award. And yes, there are sometimes entry fees in order to get into these kind of awards or, like a ceremonies that they conduct. Many of them are legit. I think many of them are legit, and some are like I'm not sure like why they're asking me to come over there, etc. But the matter of the fact is that we have grown up into this place where everything could be done online. We can actually have this human interaction by actually talking to people. I think the Winner Circle podcast, where we are able to see the people who actually won and what they have delivered, etc. That actually adds a lot of legitimacy to what has going around, and the entire process is fully transparent. I just put my application to Russ saying, hey, this is my profile, this is what I have done, and have done so much of research work. I'm more than happy to join. Judges, like, they're from everywhere,
They're from
all kind companies
everywhere.
are there.
And it's all
Yeah,
walks of life. So that's been the most humbling part of this job is watching all these people volunteer to do this. And like you
exactly.
yourself, I think last year in 2025 you judged 6 programs: AI Excellence
Yeah.
Stratus, Big Innovation, the new one, the Evan Kirstel We Love Tech Awards, Customer
Yes.
Service, and Sales and Marketing, the Sammy. That's a real
Yes. Yes.
commitment to, to when you have a demanding IT services job. What keeps you kind of coming back to do it?
So I would actually call it the full cycle. One thing is because of my experience of working with so many clients across so many employers. I definitely know like what each client is looking for and how they try to sell their product. Because I'm a services company, then I'm selling our product to our clients and probably sometimes developing their own products through our employees. So I always because it was natural for us to like show value and innovation, it actually became like my second nature to look for value in a particular project or in a particular delivery, because I've been doing it naturally in my work to identify what is the best project and like a problem, like give a presentation internally to the team. So I thought, no, why can't I use this similar knowledge to judge what is happening in the industry? I'll bring my experience of like how to look for the best like among the pack, and at the same time, I'm very impressed to see how people are trying to showcase their innovation. Even the smallest company, you know, uh, it's so funny to say that one of my senior vice president in the past has actually applied, not from my current employer. I'm trying to be very clear. From my earlier employer has actually come over here to Big Awards to showcase what he has done for the company, and it was so great to think out my senior vice president after a long time and like how they are coming back over here to showcase their value. All that gave me a lot of confidence about this big innovation awards and kept me driving. Okay, now I have to go and read one of these nominations, understand what everybody else is doing in the industry. Not only my past boss, but my past employees and everybody else in the market. So it was a learning. For me, it is learning by reviewing everything and also bringing my expertise, fintech and working with so many clients.
Well, I think it's like watching a little bit. It's like watching a Shark Tank episode. You get kind of 10 pitches of these
Yeah,
really cool kind of
yeah,
innovative companies, like you said, where you get this like unique take on something, and it's usually something very specific. They're
right.
solving a problem that somebody hasn't solved for decades or hundreds of
Yeah,
years or ever, and they've
yeah,
narrowed in on a very small subset segment of something, and they're really going after a niche kind of that's something to an industry, and it's really cool to see this come together, and to
right.
be able to kind of go through 10 of those really quick. It must be really kind of fun. So walk me through what it's actually like to kind of evaluate an entry and kind of go through the whole program.
Yeah. Firstly, I want to say I always love the entries which have got links to their external material. Many people, submit their, a nomination just with a lot of text, which is good. But then always, having that links to their portal or, like an external link or a media post that has happened would actually add a little bit more confidence and feel good factor for the judge. I'm reading, so I always go through definitely the entire content. I always look at what has been the outcome. Sometimes they it's like a real big complicated, like solution that have implemented some security stuff here, there, etc., which is good. But at the end of the day, how did it actually help the customer? What is the benefit that they have got of implementing this complex technology or probably this innovative process? I look at the value that has been delivered to the customer at the end of the day. I mean, the nomination has been by next company, and how did their customers get benefited? Who got the value addition out of it, etc. So I look at value of it, and of course, definitely the technology implementation of it, how feasible it is, how complex it is another thing that I always look at. And the company portals, many people add YouTube video links, to explaining about their particular nomination. I really love to go through those, all those YouTube links, and I definitely browse through all the company portals. I actually do a little bit of Google about the company to see what were the latest feedbacks that people have been giving about the company and their products. Many of them are in startups, which are pretty new. I sometimes don't find anything when they search about those companies, but then I rely on the material, what they provide, and the video links that they provide, and then come to my judgment. And yes, yeah, being in services for so long, have working with different clients has been my nature, and now working with different nominations has also become my second nature.
Well, I find it gives you so many good ideas of your own too. Like it
Oh, yes.
sparks ideas when I hear about this stuff. And I was telling you earlier, like we had a customer who was, or a winner who was doing AI in hospital cafeterias to make sure that the food going to patient's room was the correct food. In a hospital setting, that's pretty important, right? And so
Exactly. Exactly.
it's very, very interesting to start
Right.
thinking about
Right.
these little these issues that are going on. Now you've
Exactly.
evaluated hundreds of submissions across all these programs. If
Hmm.
you could kind of pinpoint something that separates the ones that genuinely stood out to you from kind of the bad ones or papers or whatever, what would you kind of tell people?
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
Right. Yes. I don't remember the name of the company, but I'll tell you what. But I still remember the concept that they have used. They are talking about like reducing the greenhouse emission and actually making the world more greener with IT. I was like, oh my god, okay, how are you doing this? And so that specific company spoke about implementing the efficiency of the battery systems or the machines that they are using in agricultural sector. They have implemented some small models. They have done some data analytics to see how these particular battery systems are being utilized over a period of time, and then they have come to this conclusion that they can actually reduce the amount of power consumption, if they can irrigate the system for a specific amount of time, etc. And it's a process what they have implemented, and finally they have said, because of this we reduced greenhouse emission gases for so long, and this is the process what we have implemented. We have used so many monitoring tools. So they have used IT. I mean, they have used computer monitoring systems across their farms in order to make sure that the greenhouse emission gases are reduced, because they are trying to use less electricity and less battery power, and get the value out. There's no direct customer over there. The customer over there is the nature. you know I mean to say, who benefit over there is, or there isn't, like with the reduced greenhouse emissions, and like a saving of electricity, etc., was also good value. And there are companies who actually spoke about how repeated rejection of their product has been has been a problem, and they've implemented AI solutions and chatbots, obviously, for the customers to interact with them and identify patterns, and they understand, okay, this specific set of product, when it is delivered with a delay, is probably causing them to lose interest. So they have identified the pattern that all the products that actually get delayed due to so and so reasons would actually get probably it rejected, they lose interest, etc. And hence they have to improve the process of their supply chain management. And then they have seen that customers have started buying their products more, and they have seen value. So these are the kind of, they're all I would say tiny little things, but then still they're adding value. Somebody's actually trying to add value in terms of having better electricity management. Somebody's creating value in terms of making the customers use these products even more better, etc. So yeah, there have been nominations about like a complex identity access management in AWS cloud. I felt that was a pretty good way of implementing, and the amount of reduction in the number of security incidents. They have shown a pretty good graph and data of how that has helped them to strengthen the confidence of the customers after they implemented this identity access management in AWS cloud. And that also was good because of the fact that identity access management cloud is a pretty standard process. I mean, everybody knows it, but they're able to articulate that implementation and firstly identifying the problem that security was the issue, identifying and putting the proper guardrails or security stuff into it, and then showing the value. That also caught my attention. Yeah, so I always look for value.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that was always my kind of
Yeah.
advice to employees was always make sure you're providing value every day.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, yeah, implement is such a complex thing. But then at the end of the day, they're unable to articulate what has happened because of this implement is complex process or technology. Okay, I put a AI bot. Yes, which is good. This is becoming even more easier to generate and create AI bots or chatbots. But what is the outcome of it? Because I think a lot of people are creating, AI based tools. But I think what stands out is the one that is giving better value. And I think I would always look at simple. I think simple solutions are the best solutions. At times they give the maximum ROI. That's my personal opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm judging only for simple solutions, but that tends to catch my attention. How simply this person was able to identify and bring value. Unable to sell that product because always getting delayed. They found the pattern that is the delayed product that always get rejected. That they return. That's a key point in this a bunch of data. How do you identify what is causing the problem? The pattern was good, and they also implemented this AI chatbot. Customers started interacting with it, and they collected all the data, found the pattern, and they're able to show some value. That is, yeah, good.
Yeah, you work in these kind of complicated, very
Hmm.
regulated environments, especially in fintech, and now you're
Yes,
getting exposed to kind of this more retail world of AI and innovation, where we got law firms and car
yes,
companies and chemical companies, and it's like
right.
it's across the board. You see this kind of innovation across all these different sectors. Does that change how you show up for work at TCS, and how does it make you a better practitioner?
So the knowledge what I gain over here is something that I try to use as innovation, right? So they are my points of innovation. I'm learning from my industry. I self learn a lot. Even I'm right now as I'm speaking. Actually, I'm registering myself into an agentic AI, course, to understand better and how to integrate all the tools together and build more agents on my own. So a part of this knowledge that I get, I'm actually trying to actually implement my own AI agents based off what people are developing here and nominating themselves to big innovation awards. So it is adding value to myself also. And these ideas, yes, when I give like a general weekly, say AI gatherings that happen within the company, I do talk about various ideas that I get both from my experience as well as judging these awards to share different perspectives. So right now it is adding value in terms of creating more perspectives in a place where I work, and also adding value to myself because I'm trying to build my own agents and actually mm, uh, in the middle of learning courses, where I can build end-to-end life cycles with implementing guardrails, including evals, and building end-to-end AI systems.
It's an interesting time because we went into this, as you mentioned, when you talked about your journey here, is we went through this process of digital transformation, which was hysterical. I hated the term because it was so generic. It
Exactly.
was it meant that dentists, put their files, online, at the very kind of low end of it, which was very complex, by the way, with
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
healthcare
yeah.
rules in the early days.
Mm,
And so that was like digital transformation. And then, or it meant your phone system moved to an IP phone system, and that was a digital
right,
transformation. And I just
right,
hated the term because
right.
what was it? It
I
was
know.
really just companies kind of evolving into this new technology realm that kind of, I think they had the third
Exactly.
realm or whatever, that online realm. It was really an online transformation. It was a digital, like most of
Yeah,
this stuff
yeah,
was already digital. We had computers for, 40 years at that point. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so it's really interesting now to see this transformation and being where you guys are. What surprised you the most as you kind of go into these projects to help these companies kind of move? They mostly everybody's in the cloud these days. I'm sure there are some
Right. Right.
legacy projects out there. I know there's lots of COBOL systems out there that still need updating, and a lot of companies working on that. But,
Hmm.
everybody gets the cloud and the value, and we've figured that out when it's good on, on-prem versus the cloud, and that's always debated these days. But
Right.
but you're now taking that company and going, "Let's transform your entire organization or pieces of it." What surprised you the most in the last 12 months?
What surprised me in the last 12 months? Yep, as you mentioned, digital transformation, one is generic, but where I was, at least in my context, it was about cloud migrations, which is kind of old now. Everybody's onto cloud. I agree that, but that's how it was sold in IT services, digital
No, I
transformation,
remember.
right? But mostly it is
It
cloud
just didn't
transformation.
describe it. It was just so we should go back and
Yeah,
find out who coined that phrase and
yeah,
have them
yeah, yeah.
flogged
So
somewhere.
right, so the cloud transformations are all done. Most of the cloud migrations are done, and now yes, almost all every project. I'm talking both from my work perspective and my general, because as I mentioned, I'm an independent researcher, so I do actually read a lot and contribute a lot into research forums. So I'll talk from in general perspective. What I've seen is now everybody wants to implement AI, but we know that agentic AI are kind of non-deterministic systems in the sense there is a little bit of probability in it, right? So people should know where they're trying to implement AI. It's not that everybody would want to do AI everywhere, and then like suddenly they'll realize the token cost is too high. And if you see there are a lot of memes, either in LinkedIn or like in Facebook, anywhere, like how people are losing all their money just to this token cost because they ask some silly questions and solve some very basic problems using lots of tokens. I think what's changing over in the last 12 months is that people are realizing the cost associated with using agentic AI because tokens don't come free. People have this concept that I'm using ChatGPT, I'm using Cloud, and everything is free. So probably everything comes probably in lower cost, if not free, when it go to enterprises. But looking at the token cost is number one. Knowing that AI is agentic AI is non-deterministic with a little bit of a probability in it, and hence we have to pick what we are supposed to do. In the example, Russ, what that you just gave, in a hospital environment, using AI actually to see what food is going inside is definitely okay, but probably asking AI to probably do something in the room, like switch on, switch off, put the ventilator on, ventilator off, something like that. When the nurse is not there, is not right. I mean, so that's a very crude example, but then there are many ways. Like even if you take into fintech. The transaction processing, like the Visa, the MasterCard, the transaction processing and the settlements happening globally is a well-engined oil. It has been running perfectly for decades. If I am put as a person to take care of implement agentic AI, I would not go and touch the core, like a transaction management system because they're really doing good. Where would I put it? I'll put it into fraud prevention. I would probably put it into pattern recognition. I'll put it into data analytics around it. So because with fraud prevention is a pattern, and data analytics also looks for patterns, and with these patterns we want to improve security of the system. And but with transaction processing and all, they're very deterministic. I am giving you $100, you should receive $100. Settlement is this, there is 2% commission, whatever, it should happen. That's all. Those numbers are always there, and over there I would not want to touch their system for AI or agentic AI. But around it, for fraud prevention and pattern recognition, in data analytics, to actually improve the business. How do I actually make more sales? How do I do more transactions? How do I actually increase my commission or decrease my commission? Those kind of things. Or there, AI would play a very good role. And even for what do you call that? Refunds, maybe you can use AI over there too. Agentic AI. And if at all there is a pattern, the customer is always asking for refunds or returns because he thinks a fraud has happened on his transaction when he went abroad or to some vacation place, and he gives all the details, he puts all the bills, and then then the agentic AI system can take an independent decision, an autonomous decision based on the past patterns and information what this fellow is giving. Yes, I think I should be in a position to initiate a refund. So identifying where to put agentic AI is most important. It's not that you have to put it everywhere.
Yeah, and
I think
I
that's the part.
have I went through uh, a project where we basically moved customer service to a consultant, to an outsourcer. And in that process, we learned so much about our own business because we didn't have anything documented. And I feel like we're kind of in that same realm with AI right now of people know that the value's there and they see the value every day in their personal lives and everything else, and they struggle to kind of have that foundational kind of project to figure out
Yeah.
what they need to even start, really tackling, you know, how do I a, run the business better, and B, how do I accelerate my business to,
Yeah.
to beat all the other competitors that are doing the same thing. And so it
Right.
is that twofold,
Mm,
I think that twofold benefit of make my current operation better,
mm.
faster,
Yeah.
leaner, richer for my existing customer base too, right? If you can improve your product, go for it, right?
Yeah.
And make,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's easier than ever to do that. Um,
Mm.
and
That is.
and then how can I better attack markets, go after stuff? It really is this, it's so enabling. It must be really transformative for you guys to see that on the front
Mm.
end.
Yes, 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 definitely, definitely, yes. I do see that in and out. Yeah, well, I cannot take specific details about the products, but I have seen even some products are so nice. Uh, you know, very very even automating the kitchen systems. Because most of the IT companies have got even kitchen systems, and like some of the IT companies have got thousands of employees, and then there are projects that actually generally talk about how to maintain the kitchen inventory, like create a shopping list for the chef, know what is the best selling food item, all that, nobody is gonna sit and watch and see who likes what and what is my best item, like every day a lot of food items are coming, and then like the chef is probably always thinking what should I do next, and like what should be my next, like a recipe of the week, etc. Then he wants to look at what is the trend that has been going in recently, and then AI agents can actually propose, hey, this should be an item based upon what the last trend is. And the agents are also in a position to reduce waste. They're able to create automated, like chef shopping list, saying that you have to probably take less amount of oil this time because people are going onto healthier options and the consumption has been so and so. Based on this, it will give you proper reasoning also with some of transactions and say that, hey, and then you could actually reduce the amount of things that you bring, like this inventory tells me that you need less oil, as simple as that. So it is everywhere. It is everywhere. But yes, the one question I think what people should ask is, if my AI agent fails, what is the impact of it? I think that first question should be asked. In a hospital example, if the AI agent fails, if the patient is going to have some serious trouble, yes, that is not a place where you need to go. But in a kitchen system or in a customer system where probably I'm impacting one customer, there'll be one customer who will give bad review because I gave a wrong written, or probably I'm picking a wrong dish as my recipe of the week. Yeah, they're acceptable risks. It is okay. We can probably definitely play around and be confident to implement AI systems, but not to transaction settlements and not to healthcare analytics and patterns is fine. I mean, there are a lot of drug discovery happening in AI. That is fine because you're discovering it and you're trying to test it on probably in the lab, and only when it is approved, then it will go into the market. That is fine, but not in live healthcare systems. So that judgment has to be there.
Yeah.
Where can we have probability? Where we should not have probability?
That human in the loop, has
Exactly.
to,
Yeah. Yeah.
is that last risk mitigator.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That is true.
I'm finding that even with my own AIs,
Mm,
it's a learning process. You kind of have to build on the process. If you want it to solve a very complex problem, break it
mm,
into 10 problems and
right.
solve them individually, because you run into so many little intricate details,
Yeah.
just solving some of these, connection issues or whatever. But it is, you can really get some amazing work done now, which is really fun to
Yeah.
see.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. It
For
is. Yes.
for someone that listens to this episode, what's the one thing you want them to walk away about judging and recognition and about?
Yeah. So I think for any person, like in IT or anywhere, when we do some work, what do you want as an outcome of it? One is, yes, you will learn and you will gain knowledge, and at the same time, the best recognition is about getting noticed, like getting recognized. It's always not about perks and like bonuses and all. Yes, they're always there, they're all numbers, but then they are kind of expected, that happen naturally. But then what we should have is a way to get recognized. recognition could come in a very smaller fashion, as I mentioned. It could be within the team, within the unit, within the organization. But then actually going above and beyond and trying to see where somebody fits in the industry. That those are the places where platforms like Big Innovation Awards would definitely help a lot, because people want to get recognized. That gives you lots of self satisfaction about the work that you're doing. Other perks like salaried numbers, yes, they're always there. But then what gives more satisfaction to anybody is being recognized. And I think platforms like Big Innovation Awards with lot of transparency play a great role in it. And I'm happy and thankful to be part of this ecosystem.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, we are moving in such a fast way into this agent world that, um, you almost don't know what's real these days, right? We don't know if the commercial
Right.
was shot with AI, or
Yeah.
produced with AI, not even shot with AI. Yeah, you see something blowing up on Twitter,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
instantly skeptical.
Yeah.
And I think programs like this that are human,
Mm,
and that are transparent really kind of, kind
mm.
of counter that. It's like,
Right. Right.
I think, I'm hoping that,
Mm,
there's even a harder sway more towards the more human things like,
mm, mm,
recognition.
mm. Right. Right. Definitely.
And we
Definitely,
don't need to
Russ.
recognize the AIs. They're doing just fine.
I know, I know. I remember, in every nomination that comes, you clearly write no AI-based suggestions, no AI-based critics. I used to like that. That reminder is every time. But I love the fact that you try to make it. I no, it's not try to make it. You are making it only human centric, and there shouldn't be any AI intervention in judging and all. And constantly being reminded about it. It's always good. Reminders are always nice.
Well, third party perspectives are always good if you're building a product, and
Yes.
whether
Yes.
it be a
Definitely.
customer or a
Yes. Yeah.
vendor or somebody outside of your organization, somebody either patting you back
Mm,
or patting you on the back or going,
mm.
you could do something a little bit better. It's always helpful.
Yes.
It's makes you
Yes.
feel
Yes.
good. It keeps you motivated. So, Sandeep, thank you for
Definitely.
taking the time to do all of this work for us and to
Yeah.
be part of this community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Russ. Thanks for actually having me and really love talking to you.
Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye.